Hello, everybody. Welcome to what I foresee being one of the longest of these tier list videos. Maybe I could be completely wrong. But this time we are going through uh, Advance, which is Generation 3, that being the Hoenn region, being also from Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. So Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald are some of my favorite Pokemon games. Emerald is the first one I've ever played. Actually, no, it was Leaf Green, but uh, Emerald was my second. So I actually much prefer the Hoenn region over any other region as well. So uh, gonna kind of go similar to that of what I did with the Johto ones, and kind of go a little quickly with some of my explanations. To start up, we have Trico. I'm putting it in C tier. Just kind of like it's a nice starter. It's a nice baseline of like what a beginning evolution of a starter looks like. Grovyle into uh, S tier. I really like Grovyle. It looks like it'd be super cool, and also in the anime, Ash's Grovyle being absurdly cool. With its twig. However, here's where a hot take may come in here. I do not care for Sceptile's design. I feel like they kind of ruined it. It ruined Grovyle a bit. Uh, its head becoming like the weird shape that it is. The Christmas tree being as a tail. The big bundle of leaves on his arms going away. The weird dot, the weird like orbs on his back. And I feel like it's just super awkward compared to what Grovyle was. Torchic, B tier. I think Torchic is pretty cool, pretty interesting. Not really interesting. It's just a baby chick. Although Torchic has one of the most unnoticeable gender differences of Pokemon, that being males having a little speck on his butt, which is actually from the fact that baby chicks, when they're born, males get tagged in that being that uh they'll mark their butts so that they can tell which ones are male and which ones are female when they're younger. Combuskin, I'm gonna drop it to C tier. Yeah, D tier. One of the many awkward middle stage evolutions. Although it does connect Torchic and Blaziken really well, and I feel like it might look okay if you flipped the colors, if you flip the red and yellow, because then it would be still similar to that of what Blaziken looks like. And speaking of Blaziken, I'm putting Blaziken into A tier. I like Blaziken. It's the beginning of the firefighting starters. It does get outclassed by Infernape, unfortunately, up until Gen 5, where it learns Speed Boost, and it doesn't learn Speed Boost, it gets Speed Boost from the Dream World, which it then becomes an absolute monster. So, with Blaziken just in Gen 3, that's kind of what I'm trying to base all this off, hence why there's no, like, Gigantamax or Mega Evolution. But Blaziken, to me, it's just kind of like it's more of like a Street Fighter type Pokemon, like Street Fighter the game. So I heard that you like Mudkips. That one of the best Pokemon memes of all time, one of the most well known. So the reason why Mudkip is so beloved. Marshtomp, I'm putting in B tier. It's surprisingly not an awkward middle stage. Water starter. Although it becoming like turquoise kind of feels a little weird since Swampert is blue. But on the Swampert, I'm gonna also put it in A tier. It's a really cool design, and the fact that it works as bipedal or as a quadruped makes it really easy to kind of design and like manipulate. So it could look great in either stance. Pochiana, I'm gonna put it in A tier. Uh, the like early game secondary I don't want to say rodent, but like Raticate. I guess. Oh no, that'd be the early game rodent. Similar to that Nidoran, I guess you could say, or Mankey. It's like the secondary early game Pokemon you could pick up, similar to that of like Rattata or Blipbug or uh Young Goose, Pokemon like that are like hit on like the first route or two, and you can carry them for most of the game, if not all of it. That and it also gets runaway, so if you run across something that uses like Arena Trap or Mean Look or something like that, you could always escape without the use of a Shed Shell. Uh, Mightyena, I'm gonna put it in A tier. It looks okay. It doesn't look great. I'm not a massive fan of it. I'm actually moved to B tier. It's all right. Not very good. Zigzagoon, one of the original HM slaves. I'm also gonna put Linoon in there. The Galarian forms are amazing, but again, that's not what I'm judging this off of. I'm judging this off of the fact that you never really can play Hoenn without using Zigzagoon or Linoon. Just because they're massive HM users. And they have the pickup ability, which are always super helpful. Wurmple, I'm actually going to put in A tier more so because of its evolutions than the fact that I actually like it. So I'm actually going to drop it into B tier because I'm actually going to put Beautifly Dustox in there. But Wurmple, the early game bug, uh, typically one of two, but since it does evolve into Silcoon and Cascoon, it doesn't need a second bug. So speaking of Silcoon and Cascoon, I'm gonna take care of these two on their own, together. Don't like them. They're probably the worst of the cocoons, just because they're literally just a circle with eyes. Next up, we have Beautyfly and Dustox. Beautiful Dustox going in A tier. The fact that it evolves into either butterfly or a moth is really interesting. Especially since Dustox is a really awesome looking designed Pokemon. I think that it's super intimidating, despite the fact that it's so many colors, as well as most of them being big, bright colors. And Beautifly really shows off the elegance of a butterfly, while also being pretty dark when it comes to colors. It's a really nice contrast between the two. Next up, we have Lotad. I really like Lotad. I'm actually not going to put it in A tier. In S tier, I should say. It's going in A tier. It's nice. It's a little, quiet, derpy Pokemon. Uh, Lombre, I'm actually put it in D tier because I really don't like it. It's a decent progression, but at the same time, it doesn't really progress well after that. When it comes to what it's supposed to be, going from Lotad to Lombre to Ludicolo, you go from a tadpole to a monkey to whatever or to a duck. Like it's such a weird contrast that I just don't really care for it. Ludicolo, I'm putting it in B tier. It's a little happy guy. He's great. But at the same time, I'm just not a huge fan of its design. I don't like the colors on it. The like yellow and green, I don't like it as a color combination, especially when it's like the primary and secondary colors. See that? Oh, I apologize. C dot, I'm putting it in C tier. I don't have too many opinions on it, mainly because it's literally just an acorn with legs and eyes. Although Nuzleaf and Shiftry, I'm actually gonna put both of them in S tier. Because I really like the ninja like aspect they have. I think that it's something that should be done more often. Just because like a ninja Pokemon is really interesting and plays into like Japanese stereotypes, I guess, a little bit. Let's see here. Talo, I'm gonna put it in to C tier. I don't have to again, just like C tier is basically the I don't have an opinion on it, so this is where it's just gonna be shoved. Swallow S tier, easily my favorite regional bird by a long shot. I never play Hoenn without using a Swallow. It's incredibly fast, incredibly strong, and it's such a cool looking Pokemon, especially when it comes to its Gen 3 sprite. Wingull, I don't mind Wingull. I think it's an okay looking design. Definitely not like something I would personally use. I don't think I've ever used a Wingull, but or Pelipper for that matter. I've used Pelipper for like competitive, but I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't like its playstyle. I don't like its. I don't mind its design, but it's kind of boring and doesn't and lacks a bit of personality. As does Wingull. Ralts. Okay, here's the line. Uh, just gonna, just gonna, just gonna. All right. No. So Ralts and Gardevoir are going into A tier, and Curlia into B tier. No, I'll put them all into A tier. The reason why, I think that's a really nice progression. That is like from like a young girl to a ballerina into like an elegant like ballerina, I guess you could say. Like an early like a younger girl like it's supposed to be like a toddler of a female of a girl or like a just above a toddler like early like just before puberty just before like teenage years or something and then like adult. It's a nice progression. Uh, Despite the fact that Gardevoir is like the sex symbol of Pokemon, unfortunately. Like it's the Gardevoir's got a really great design and really great move pool that it's super fun to use, whether it be competitively or casually. Surskit S tier solely because of its Japanese cry, where it literally just goes ah, and it's amazing. It's beautiful. It is the greatest thing to ever exist. Masquerain though, I'm gonna drop it to D tier. It's unappealing. Uh, there's not much going on with it. Like I like the inspiration it has with it being like the intimidation factor from like its wings being able to close it, and it looks like a big like uh like a big circle. Shroomish, my first F tier here. I do not like Shroomish. It is such a stupid looking design. It is just a mushroom. It is just like a sad, disappointed mushroom, and it makes me sad and disappointed. Breloom, I want to put it in C tier. I don't have too many opinions on it. I'm not a fan of it. I could put it into D tier, but I don't feel like being that harsh to it. I did not mean to put slack off there. Oh, swear, man. Oh. I'm gonna put Slack off into B tier. I'm also gonna put Slack King into B tier. I'll talk about Vigoroth in a second. But these two get really drawn back by the ability being truant. Kind of makes them suck, to be honest. Other than that, I mean, like, I really like the design of like being the lazy sloth. And then Vigoroth. I actually kind of like Vigoroth. I think Vigoroth is really cool. And it's also like I'm not a huge fan of like the Pokemon that like spurt off really awkwardly from their evolutions. Like I had said with like Lombre, being super awkward. But Vigoroth, I feel like it works because it's supposed to be like a sloth mixed with like a yeti in a way, or a monkey. So Vigoroth is kind of like where the monkey part comes in. That and it's just also funny to see that like a pre-evolution pretty much always has outclassed its fully evolved form. Nincada, it's pretty ugly looking, as Ninjask, but one of my other top favorite Pokemon, probably my second favorite Pokemon behind Electivire, is Shiddinja. Wonder Guard makes it really funny to be able to just sweep a team with because they simply can't hit you. I find that to be pretty funny. And so we have the Whismur line. I actually really like Whismur. Whismur is really cool with its like design. I really like the design of the eyes. It allows it to be very different when it comes to its expressions compared to other Pokemon. Loudred, I'm also going to slap into F tier because it is just hideous. That is awful looking. And then Loudred, Exploud, I actually don't mind Exploud. I think Exploud's pretty interesting looking, with it being in like an organ. But like, but then back to Loudred. Loudred as like a speaker just doesn't work. That because like 90% of his body is just its mouth. It looks even worse with its mouth closed. Just being honest. Makahita, I'm gonna drop it to D tier just because I don't really care for plumpiness. It's too plumpy. Plumpy. It literally looks like a garbage bag you tied shut with arms. It's like if your garbage bag could literally punch you. Next we have Hariyama. I really like Hariyama. The fact that it's a sumo wrestler that's also like a boxer in a way is a super interesting idea that you don't get to see anymore with Pokemon. Azurill F tier, it's baby. It's worse than a baby. Normal water being a terrible defensive typing and having like no resistances really sucks. Outside of being like rock and ground, being like being resisted by water. Next up, we have Nose Pass. So I'm also gonna put Nose Pass at A tier. I really like the fact that like its entire thing is like, oh, it faces north because like it's a compass. I think that's a really interesting design. Provass on the other hand, C Gen 4. Skitty and Delcatty. I'm not a huge fan of them, mainly because I'm not a cat person. So it already like deducts points for me. But overall, I think that they're just also really like uninspired and just kind of boring. They don't really have much going for them outside of their signature ability Normalize, which is a terrible move, which is a terrible ability. Especially if you go against a ghost type, because then you literally cannot do a single thing to it. Unless like one of your moves are like toxic or something, which even then I think it might actually be immune. Sableye, I'm putting into A tier because it I like its lore of it being like a cave dweller that can't see, that eats like gems and that. It's super dark and interesting, just like Mawile. I also really like Mawile for similar reasons, but the fact that it's a Japanese folk tale with a woman whose hair has a mouth. Aeron, Laron, and Aggron. Uh, Aeron going in A tier, Laron into a B tier, and then Aggron into S tier. Aeron is a really cool Pokemon. It's got uh, I really like the how it's it's really small, but it's also like manages to be a little fearsome looking. Laron, I don't mind it. I think it's still kind of cool with like the spikes down the back of it. But like I feel like all the holes in it kind of make it look really awkward. That like the things that jut off the chin of it also are kind of awkward looking. And Aggron becoming just like Tyranitar being Godzilla like. Metatite and Metacham. Metatite into F tier. The thing is hideous. It's wearing a diaper, and it sucks. Metacham also is quite terrible. Although huge power is a really good move ability that Metatite has, but Metacham's the only one that gets use of it, and even then, it doesn't do it very well. Electrike, I'm putting into B tier. I like its design. I like electric types. So that's a start, but I think that the green and yellow actually kind of work here. Unlike it does with like Ludicolo, because there's so much of both colors, but the yellow is only used for accents. Main Exarch, another one of my top Hoenn Pokemon. I don't know. It's super cool. It has really interesting type diversity with it getting flamethrower in later generations. But also it's overheat, so that's another really cool one. Plus one Minun, are dropped to F tier because of the fact that they are just Pikachu clones, and I'm also not a huge fan of Pikachu. So I'm actually gonna put them into D tier because I I don't like them, but at the same time, I think that it's interesting to have like the plus and minus type of thing to go in with the double battles. Volbeat and Illumise. I'm just gonna put them both into C tier because I don't really have too many opinions on them. Roselia, I'm gonna put into D tier because of my gripe with grass types. Terrible shiny. It just flips the red and blue. I think because I know like with Roserade it becomes purple and black instead, which isn't too bad. It's actually pretty good looking. But I think Roselia just switches the colors. Swalot and Gulpin. I'm gonna put Gulpin into B tier and Swalot into A tier. I like their gimmick, the fact that not the gimmick, but like their backstory, where it's like, okay, yeah, no, so if they swallow you, it's like you slowly die from poison as they slowly digest you. Carvana, I don't really have too many opinions on Carvana, but I actually really like Sharpedo. With it being like the bully of the sea is really interesting. The fact that it doesn't have a tail makes it seem like it's like it lost it. Whalmer, S tier. You will see why in the coming days or weeks or whenever I get the video or whenever I get it done. Wailord, I'm also gonna put it into. Well, I kind of spoiled it now, but I don't really care. Wailord, I'm also gonna put it in S tier for the fact that it's literally less dense than air, so it floats. It's a blimp. Numel, I don't really have many things to say about it. Camerup, I really like the idea of it being like it's a volcano. a double volcano. Hence why I also really like Torchic. I think that they're both really cool designs. Even though they're so similar, I think they're done differently enough to where they do work very well. Especially since like Camerupt is a camel and Torkoal is a tortoise. Spoink, I'm gonna put it in A tier because I really like its lore of it to where it can't stop bouncing or else it just dies. Grumpig, I'm putting it into C tier. I don't have too many opinions on it. It's not great, but it's also not bad. Spinda, I like their idea with Spinda, with it having so many different like designings to it. The fact that it's like it's able to be so many different like designs. Too many to count. That would actually take like thousands of years to catch all of them, assuming you never get a single duplicate. Trapinch, Vibrava, and Flygon. I don't have strong opinions on any of these three, just like the rest of them in the tier. I actually kind of like Flygon. I'll bump it up to B tier. I like the Dragonfly idea with it. Uh, I think it works really well. And the fact that it still kept being ground type, I think really worked. Next up, we have Cacnea and Cacturn. Cacnea, I'm going to put it into C tier. I don't hate it. Again, I don't have too strong opinions on it. But Cacturn, I actually kind of like Cacturn. The fact that it's like able, it's a like murderous cactus is just kind of funny to me. Swablu, it's kind of like Fearow in a way. Spearow and Fearow in a way. But the fact that it's dragon rather than just a bird. Oh, Altaria. Kind of like Altaria. It's not great, but at the same time, it's also not bad. I like I like that its clouds are wings, or its wings are the clouds, just like Swallow, but like it looks like it shouldn't be, but the wings are like clouds. Zangoose and Seviper, I really like Zangoose. I think that like the red like lightning bolt type looking thing on its chest looks really nice, and the fact that it has like the red gauntlets too, turned into fur, and then what looks to be like a scar on the side of its face also works really well with it, especially since its story is based off of its feud with some Viper. So I'm gonna put it into D tier because of the fact that it doesn't evolve from Arbok. Like I feel like they really should have just made some Viper in evolution to Arbok. And I mean, like I get what people say is like, oh, they couldn't change snakes like that, but they did. Ekans is like a rattlesnake and like a garden snake, and Arbok is a cobra. So like Viper easily could have just been a Viper evolution. Solrock and Lunatone. So I'm gonna put these guys into. I'll put Lunatone in S tier just because I feel like Lunatone just looks a lot better than Solrock, but I like both of their designs. The fact that they're both Sun and Moon Pokemon. They came very early, since they probably would have fit better into Generation 8 with not Generation 8, Generation 7 with Sun and Moon. Next up, we have Barboach and Whiscash. I really don't like Barboach. I think just looks super awkward. Whiscash, I also don't really care for. It's got a W on its head. It's like, oh hey, what's that Pokemon? Oh, it's got the W on it. Oh, it's Whiscash. Corphish, I really like Corphish. It has a lot of personality. Crawdaunt is really intimidating looking. and it's also super fun to use casually and competitively. Baltoy and Claydol, I don't have too strong of opinions on it. I actually like Claydol a little bit because I like the voodoo and stuff that it's related to. The fossils, Lily, I don't really care for. It just kind of looks a little weird with it being purple. Credilli though, I like how it's like super intimidating with like it looks like it has like 4 eyes. And that looks like it's a mouth, even though it's like it's eyes. Anorith and Armaldo. Anorith, I'm gonna put it into C tier. Don't have too strong opinions on it, but I also really like Armaldo. It's the fossil that I typically go with. Just out of personal preference, I feel like I typically need more. I don't really need a grass type ever, even though the fact that like it's Gen 3, there's a lot of water types, so like you need grass moves, but I typically don't use them. Feebas, it's just Magikarp. Melodic, it's just worse Gyarados. Put in C tier because I actually kind of like it. So I'm actually not gonna do each of the forms. Uh, so I want to put Castform into A tier because the gimmick it has with the 3 weathers. The same thing will go for. Never mind, there actually isn't a second one. I thought there was. But I like the fact that it can turn into each of the weathers, except for Sandstorm for some reason. I feel like it really should have gotten a Sandstorm form, since then it would have gotten stab off of every single type of weather ball. Next up, we have Kecleon. I'm gonna put it into B tier because I like its gimmick of it having color change or Protean if you have it as a hidden ability or through the Dream World. Being able to change your type like that really often works really well in your favor because then you could be hit with many different moves and it gives you a lot more opportunities for switch-ins. Next up, we have Shuppet. Yeah, Shuppet and Bayonet. I don't have too strong opinions on Shuppet, but just like uh actually no, I will put it in S tier. Just like a lot of these Pokemon, the lore is what really gets me with Bayonet. The fact that it's basically just a doll that hates the person that used to own it because it threw it away. Next up, we have Duskull and Dusclops. I don't mind Duskull. It's not too great, but again, I'm pretty indifferent to it. Dusclops, I kind of like. It's a bit of a departure from Duskull. When we get to Dusk Noir, you'll kind of understand more if you don't already remember what Dusk Noir looks like. Because well, first off, it goes from being like a somewhat like ghastly, where it's like a puff of gas or something, like a smoke or something, to becoming like a mummy, which I feel to be kind of weird. That and it also grows hands, like legitimate hands. I mean, Dusk Noir has hands, but at the same time, it just kind of feels weird going to that. Next up, we have Tropius. I'm indifferent to Tropius. I like it for things like the bananas on stack, but I also don't really care for it because it's a grass type. Chimecho, I actually kind of like Chimecho. I feel like it has potential for like anime stuff and that, as well as marketing. Sorry that doesn't get used for marketing at all. Next up, we have the emo Pokemon Absol. I think that it's got a really awesome backstory, just like Xatu and them. Where it comes to like disaster. Although with Absol, it's that it knows disaster's on the way, whereas Xatu knows what the danger is. Next up, we have Wynot, another baby Pokemon. Uh, I mean, it's an Uber, So I guess it's the funny part. All right, you know, let me actually quickly explain that because I don't know if many people know. So the reason why Wobbuffet and why not are both Ubers is because of the fact of it having leftovers, which it's actually banned now because of the fact that a Wobbuffet struggling a Wobbuffet that is also holding leftovers will cause an infinite battle because nobody will die unless like every hit is a crit, which is impossible. Now Snow Runs. I don't mind Snow Run. Indifferent to it. I actually like Glalie. Glalie I feel like is underrated. It doesn't look like a Pokemon, but it's a great Pokemon nonetheless. Spheal, it's a ball. He is Ball Boy. Uh, he's also just adorable. A lot of personality, I feel. Celio, I don't like the mustache. I feel like they could have gotten rid of the mustache and it would look a lot better. Walrein, I'm also indifferent to. It's pretty cool with it being like being a walrus, but at the same time, I just am not a huge fan of it when it comes to other water types. Clamperl, I'm putting into D tier. Huntail, I'm putting into F tier. Clamperl is just really boring looking, and Huntail is absolutely hideous. Gorbis, however, I'm gonna put it into B tier because I like its design. I think it's really interesting. Relicanth, its backstory is awesome with it being like of the perfect organism, so it doesn't evolve. It hasn't changed for millennia. Love Disc, putting it into D tier. I think it's really stupid and kind of pointless. Fagon, I'm putting into C tier because I don't really have too many opinions on it. I'm gonna put Shelgon into D tier just for the fact that like similar to that of uh other Pokemon. Again, the Lombre situation. It doesn't fit the middle stage. It feels like it should be its own Pokemon, especially since right after it evolves into something that looks almost exactly like Bagon, being Salamence, which Salamence, it's got to be S tier. I mean, it's Salamence. Beldum, I actually like Beldum, despite the fact that it can only learn Takedown by level up. Matang, I'm pretty indifferent to Matang, but I also really like Metagross. I think that it's like the forearms is really nice looking. The X is also it makes it super intimidating. Now onto the Reggies. I don't like Regirock. I feel like that it just kind of looks ugly and super boring. Regice, despite the fact that it's really boring looking, I actually kind of like it. Mainly because I really like the ice types of Gen 3 in general. Despite the fact that like I have one rank really low. Uh, I think that all of them have a lot of merit to them, regardless. And then Registeel is actually one of my favorite Reggies. And I'm putting in the A tier. I think it's super sleek and it really fits. Uh, it really fits without it being overbearing or like super out of this world like Regirock may feel at times. Latios and Latias, I actually really like the love gimmick that they kind of have with these two. They never really show that though with like anime appearances or anything. It just kind of feels like Latios kind of sees Latias as like a baby sister. And now the Weather Trio. Kyogre, S tier, Groudon, S tier, Rayquaza, S tier. They're all incredibly strong looking, super intimidating. Even Kyogre, with it just being a massive whale, I feel like it really kind of gives off like an intimidation factor due to the fact that it's so large. And has so many like different parts to it that can move. Groudon with like the claw on its tail looks really nice. Rayquaza is just Rayquaza. I mean, like really, there's not much to say about it that would make it seem more intimidating. Jirachi, I don't really mind Jirachi. I don't really care for it, but I like it. It's definitely not one of my favorite Pokemon from Gen 3, but it's also not one of my least favorite. It's definitely up there though a little bit. In the fact that like it could grant wishes and that is really cool, despite the fact that like it only wakes up like every couple thousand years. So annoying, man. I feel like Jirachi is really cool. I like Jirachi. And lastly is Deoxys. I'm only gonna use one Deoxys. And I'm gonna put it in A tier. I really like the fact that it switched forms. The only thing I don't like is the fact that it switches forms based on the game that you're using. Like I think Fire Red and Leaf Green is I want to say Speed form. Ruby and Sapphire are defense. Emerald is attack. I don't know. I really don't. I don't know the exact divisions for it. I'll probably put it in the description or something. If when I'm done with this. But there we go. That does it for all of the Generation 3 Pokemon. A lot more diversity here. Not any of them going above 3. The biggest one being A tier, followed up by B tier, S tier, then C tier, D tier, and F tier. Even then, a lot of these F tier Pokemon, you probably could bump them to D tier. Like Shroomish. I kind of threw Shroomish into D tier because of the fact that it was just like I wanted to start putting Pokemon into F tier because F tier had nothing. But that's how I am going to finish out the tier list. I'm just gonna throw all the forms in with their regular form. You know what? No, I'm just gonna drop it because all of Castform and all of Deoxys will be in A tier. So as always, thank you so much for watching. Uh, next up will be Gen 4. It'll be coming out next week. We'll be probably having these come out 1 week at a time. So this week is Gen 3, next week is Gen 4, the next week is Gen 5. So look out for Gen 4. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.